we're now entering Revelation chapter 5. We're going to learn about the seven-sealed scroll and see the dramatic entry of the Lion of the tribe of Judah. So here's a little introduction photo here. Very nicely done. But I want to ask you a question. There's something that's inaccurate about that photo. What do you think it is? And we're going to find the answer to that question right here in verse number 1. I saw in the right hand of him who sat on the throne a book written inside and what? On the back, sealed up with 7 seals. So the picture that we have here of this scroll is not written on the back. So a little bit of inaccuracy here on the photo, but still nicely done. So when we think about a book, we think about a codex, a book that's got, bound pages in it. That's not what's being referred to here. This is a scroll, because prior to the 2nd century or so, scrolls were made of papyrus instead of using a book like we think of a book today. In fact, I tried to do a background on the slide deck here. That's a papyrus background just for that very reason. And the font that I use for the text from Revelation is called the papyrus font, which I thought that was kind of clever as well. But at any rate, the exterior, once they pounded out the papyrus and bound it together and made the scroll out of it, the exterior, the outside of it, was a lot rougher texture than the inside, and so it wasn't typically used for a writing surface. Now, there were some exceptions to that, one of which would be a sealed scroll that was a title deed or property deed of some type. In that case, they very often would write on the back a brief description of what it was. So I guess if you had it, stored in a jar or whatever, you could see what it was all about, like the cover of a book, before you unrolled the scroll to take a look at it. So that might be what we're talking about here. This may very well be a title deed to the planet Earth. Think about that for a minute. God created it, man corrupted it, and Jesus is going to reclaim it. And I think what we're seeing here is sort of a cosmic real estate closing taking place as the events of Revelation, starting in chapter 5, begin to unfold. Jesus is reclaiming what is rightfully his. So let's look at the verse 2, 3, and 4. And I saw a strong angel, so not a normal angel apparently. This angel was different maybe than some of the other ones. And maybe Gabriel himself, for all we know, is not named here, but this is the type of thing that Gabriel often did. He was a messenger type angel. And I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, who is worthy to open the book and to break its seals? And no one in heaven or on the earth or under the earth was able to open the book or to look into it. Then I, John, began to weep greatly, because no one was found worthy to open the book or to look into it. John understood the significance of this. He understood the implications of no one being worthy to reclaim the planet Earth. Think about how deep that thought would be for a moment. But we see in picking up in verse 5, and one of the elders said to me, stop weeping. Behold, the Lion that is from the tribe of Judah, the root of David, has overcome so as to open the book and its 7 seals. And that word there, overcome, is the same exact word that was used earlier in chapters 2 and 3 to refer to the overcomers. So the angel is making, in this case it's the elder, is making the announcement that the Lion of the tribe of Judah has been found worthy to open the book and its 7 seals. So we have this very dramatic moment beginning to unfold here. But think about it. Jesus is our kinsman redeemer. He's the only one qualified on planet Earth, anywhere in all of history. He's the only one qualified to open up the scroll to reclaim what is rightfully his. He's our kinsman. He's our kinsman and our redeemer. And you can read all about that in the book of Esther, or the book of Ruth, as a parallel to Revelation, where we see Boaz as the kinsman redeemer fulfilling that role in a very specific way. That's a anti-type reference to what Jesus is doing as he reclaims planet Earth here in the book of Revelation as our kinsman redeemer. So what were the requirements of a kinsman redeemer under Old Testament law? Well, he had to be a relative, number one. So Jesus became a man with a human lineage, So he meets that criteria. Secondly, he had to be willing. Certainly, Jesus said, "Hey, your will, not mine." He was following the Father's will. He had to be able. Certainly, he was, and he had to assume all of the liabilities of the beneficiary. So only Jesus meets all four of these requirements of a kinsman redeemer. So this verse is prefacing a dramatic moment. We've got this scene unfolding. Nobody in all of the universe has been found worthy to open the scroll. John's been there weeping. The angels made the proclamation. And now we say, the elder says, the Lion of the tribe of Judah. So you get this picture of this roaring lion that's about to enter onto the scene to take back, what is rightfully his and set things straight. So that's that's the stage that's being set here. So let's talk about the Lion of the tribe of Judah, what that reference is. Well, it's the root of David. Jesus descended from David, of course, humanly speaking, yet he created David. So he used this paradox, Jesus did, to confuse the Pharisees. You remember the story probably from Matthew 22. Now, while the Pharisees were gathered together, Jesus asked them a question. What do you think about the Christ? Whose son is he? And they said to him, the son of David. So he's like, who's the Messiah? Whose son is the Messiah? They said, well, it's the son of David. And he said to them, then how does David in the Spirit call him Lord? Saying, the Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I put your enemies beneath your feet. And this is from the Psalms. If David, 110 I believe, if David then calls him Lord, how is he his son? And no one was able to answer him a word, nor did anyone dare from that day on to ask him another question. So Jesus used that somewhat of a paradox there. So when we come back from the break, this is a good place for us to stop. We're going to talk about the Davidic covenant and the coming fulfillment of that covenant in the Millennium Kingdom, and how all this ties in to Jesus being the Lion of the tribe of Judah, found worthy to open up the seals on the scroll.